Welcome everybody to episode 3 of the patch 10.6 Season of Souls videos. This is going to be specifically focused on gods. We've seen general changes, we've seen item changes. Now we got to talk about god changes coming to this patch. And we're going to start off with Aphrodite, a god that has been, kind of nerfed ever since they did the health rework. And they say here, just like with some items, they're looking at decreasing some of the more prevalent and consistent sources of movement speed. So Aphrodite is the one being looked at here. Kiss, they're going to decrease the movement speed that was scaling 6 to 14%, scaling now 6 to 10%. I think this is a healthy change. Aphro, in my opinion, has kind of fallen off anyway, at least in Conquest. So I think this change is good for other game modes. Hachiman, the man, the myth, the legend of the duo lane, the guy I've seen insta-locked first pick in my comp games, is going to be nerfed here. They're going to decrease the base damage from 20 to 60 to 10 to 50 on Eagle Eye, and they're going to decrease the physical power scaling from 120% to 115%. That small buff did just kind of launch him into existence. I really think people forgot about Hachiman. I don't think that he has been incredibly OP or insane. I just think people forgot about this god. He got a buff that seemed pretty good, and it felt pretty good, so a lot more people are playing him. And he is fun to play. He is a fun-to-play god, and if he is good and fun to play, win-win across the board. Hell, similar to Aphrodite's nerf, she's going to get decreased self-move speed from 25 to 15% on Inspire, along with decreased allied move speed from 10% to 7%. Tyr is also going to get looked at here. His change stance is going to decrease physical power gain from assault stance and defense stance protections, scaling from 18 to 50, now from 12 to 44. This just goes in conglomerate with the item nerfs as well. Vamana, the man that's been running it down in jungle and solo for the past 2 months, is getting yet another nerf. Colossal Fury, decreasing the base duration of this ability from 6 seconds to 4 seconds. Max duration of this ability is now 8 seconds instead of 10. I think that's going to feel pretty good. I do feel like Vamana ult sometimes feels like it's very, very, very long. And reducing the duration, I think, makes it feel better to play against. Because the big problem is people just keep attacking him and increasing the duration. And 10 seconds is a lot of time for that god to be running at you. Yamoja, Riptide, they're decreasing the movement speed to go along with the Afro and Hell nerfs. What was now 10 from 30% is now going to be 10 to 20% scaling. And now we're going to get to buffs. And these buffs, some of them are wild, okay? Achilles, this execute buff, I promise you feel it. His execute threshold is no longer 30%, it's 35% of your HP. On her, increased his basic attack speed from 0.9 to 1.0, and shifting sand, they increased the slow. It was scaling 15 to 35%, now 20 to 40%. I was talking about this last week on my stream that I thought On Her was going to get buffed this patch, and seeing him get buffed makes me pretty excited. I would like to see him played more. Do I think this is what jumps him up there with the Hachiman change? No. Do I think this makes him a little bit more viable? Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be in duo though, so keep an eye out for that. Apollo getting some changes here. Serenade, they're going to increase the mesmerize duration, which scaled from 1.2 to 2, is now going to be 1.5 to 2.3, which is going to feel insane. And then the moves is going to get increased move speed buff and debuff from 10 to 20% scaling, now from 15 to 25% scaling. I've already been playing Apollo. I think this god's already in a pretty good spot. I think this makes him just better and helps him climb up that tier list that you're looking at. And if you want to have a fun time with Apollo, just start tier 2 Odibo, and then once you get enough gold back and buy your starter, most of you are probably buying Death's Toll right now. I'd strongly suggest looking and thinking about buying Arrow, but that's just my opinion on that. But check it out. It's a fun build. Artemis, also getting looked at here, getting Suppress the Insolent, is going to increase physical power scaling from 65 to 75% and decrease the cooldown from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. I'm just saying, I really wonder, does Runeforge Hammer feel pretty good on Artemis again? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more next time you see me play Artemis. I might try it out. Bacchus, Belch of the Gods, decrease the cooldown from 14 seconds to 12 seconds. Bacchus is going to be played in support. There is no way this god doesn't get played in support after this. I think this god's already good. I think this just makes him better, and seeing him get buffed is kind of scary. Bastet, Ensnaring Claw, they increase the cat hit points from 2 to 3. Boo, get it out of here. That's my thoughts on that. Chiron, Train exercise, increased duration of CC immunity granted to self and allies from 0.3 to 0.5 seconds. I think this Chiron change is insane. And I love this change. Buffing his utility is such an interesting change, and I think really could bring him to the forefront of mid lane hunters. I don't know if we see him more in the duo lane, but I definitely think we could see him more in the mid lane for sure. Kleena, a god I always love to see played. Phantasmal, decrease the cooldown and entering a wall from 16 seconds to 13 seconds, and decrease the base damage taken while in the wall from 0.15 per level to 0.12% per level. Dons and Burrow, my man, is getting his Uproar's Rocket buffed, increased stun duration from 1 second, and now it will scale from 1 to 1.4 seconds at all ranks, which I think is pretty cool. Discordia getting buffed, Strife decreased the cooldown from 15 seconds to 13 seconds. Erlong Shin, the god that, we see buffed, we see changed, and then he just doesn't get played that much because ever since they took away his knock-up and readjusted him, he just doesn't do as well. He's getting some love this patch. They're going to, Howling Celestial Dog, they're going to increase the percent max HP damage from 1.75% to 2%. The Pin, they're going to increase the root duration from 1.3 seconds to 1.5 seconds. And 9 Turns Blessing, they're going to increase the damage mitigation buff from 25% to 35%. I'm curious to see, does this bring Erlang back? I don't think it does. I think maybe we see him played in jungle from time to time. But there's a large part of me that's just like, just respect him as an assassin and call it a day. Like, bring part of, I don't know. I don't know what they could do because I feel like they gutted his kit so hard that getting him back to a place where people want to play him is going to be difficult. I do like Erlong Shin. Erlong Shin is a god I love seeing played because I think he's interesting. I just, unfortunate that he hasn't been able to kind of recover from that shift that they did. ESET, they increased the magical power scaling from 40% to 45%, which, goes from 160 to 180% for Wingust. Fafnir, this change is huge. Draconic Corruption, increased the duration that Fafnir is in dragon form from 20 to 40 seconds to 20 to 60 seconds. He gets an extra 20 seconds in dragon form. If people aren't picking Fafnir, I don't know what's going on. This god has to be played now. There's just no way. I think that change is absolutely huge. What he gives you in Draconic form is just insane, especially if you're running like an auto attack comp. He's going to get played. I just don't see him not getting played. Geb, Stone Shield, increased the duration from 2 to 4 seconds, which what it was before. It's going to be 3 to 5 seconds. That's a pretty crazy change. Cataclysm, they're going to increase the base damage from 110 to 550 scaling to 120 to 580 scaling. Again, Geb's another god I think we're going to see a lot more of in support. These Guardians got a lot of love this patch, and I think it's going to bring a lot of them to the forefront. Hoi Yi, they're going to increase the base damage on Ricochet from 85 to 265 scaling, now to going to be 90 to 290 scaling. Eshell, another god that's getting some love here. I mean, I can say this, we played a comp. We have not banned Eshell either game while she's been available, and no one's picked her. She's just not very great in Conquest. I think she's insanely good and fun in non-Conquest. Still glad to see her get some love, though, because I think her kit's amazing. Great End, they are going to increase the damage per tick from 14 to 50 scaling to now 20 to 52 scaling of 8% of your magical power as well. 15 ticks minimum, 30 ticks maximum. Giannis is getting some percent pin on through space and time from 8 to 16%, now 10 to 20%. Kukulkan, they're getting Slipstream, decreased cooldown from 15 to 13 seconds, now 15 to 11 seconds. Kuzumbo is getting buffed as well. Shell Spikes are going to increase the damage reflected from 10 to 30%, now 15 to 35%. Watery Grave, they're going to increase damage mitigation from 10 to 20%, so that's a pretty good increase. Again, with these like anti-attack speed builds and all the Guardian buffs we're seeing with items and things of that nature, I do think Kuzumo could come up to the forefront. I just don't know, does it outmatch Bacchus, Geb, and Fafnir changes? A god that I do like to see played in comp, and do I like to see played in general in Conquest? Do I think this brings him to the forefront? I hope it at least makes him viable, because I do think he is good, and I think he has the potential to do some work here. Some general non-Conquest buffs have been removed from Kuzumbo. Lancelot, they said Camelot's Quest increased the movement speed and basic attack damage reduction from 0.2 per stack to 0.3 per stack. Piercing Thrust, they increased the physical power scaling from 60 to 65% per hit. Loki, Oh my god. Agonizing Visions, increased duration of this buff from 2.5 to 3 seconds. Flurry Strike, increased flurry damage from 19 to 55 to 20 to 60 scaling per hit for the first 4 hits. I forgot about the Loki buff. I saw it when I read through this patch, and I blanked it out because I just can't imagine Loki getting buffed. He has not been viable really much at all. I think, you have your couple people that really just play Loki, and that's how he get played. But I do think he needed some love, and hopefully he plays a little bit more and not on against me and on my team. Medusa, Viper Shot, they're going to increase the attack speed from 40 to 60%, now 40 to 80%. They're going to increase the base damage from 10 to 30, now 15 to 35%. So that's going to be pretty significant on Medusa. I do think we'll see her played some more. Mulan, they're going to do a decreased cooldown on Spear Thrust by 1 second and decreased cooldown on Grapple by 1 second. Poseidon, Trident, this ability now provides Poseidon with 5 to 15% attack speed while the buff is active. It's going to be pretty good. I already think Poseidon ADC is a good pick, so I think he could get picked up a little bit more in ADC now. Raw, Solar Blessings, you increase the protections provided. What was 10 to 26 now is 10 to 30. Physical power provided is now 10 to 30, and magical power provided is now 20 to 40. Raiden's getting buffed. Clap it up. Whenever Raijin gets buffed, he sometimes just becomes absolutely insane. So Raiju, they're going to increase the damage per tick on a target that was initially marked by Raiju from 50 to 55 plus 13% of your magic power is now going to be 20 to 60 plus 13% to 15% of your magic power. That's going to be really, really good. I expect to see Raijin played more. Raijin's a god that when they buff him, they have to be careful because whenever they buff him, he sometimes just goes out of control and becomes the top mage. I don't think that's going to be the case here, but I do think we would see Raijin played more. We have Raven, Chain of Blows, increase the health shield gain per stack from 7 to 9% of Ravana's max HP, which will be 21 to 27% at max stacks. 10-hand Shadow Fist, they decrease the cooldown from 16 seconds to 14 seconds. Set, getting another buff here. We love that because I'm a huge Set lover and player. I love Set. Spawn of Set, increase the dash damage from 50 to 70%, now 60 to 80%, and decrease the cooldown from 13 scaling down to 11 to now just 11 seconds flat. I am so excited about this change. I might even consider playing him in ADC again. I love playing Set. Shiva, Samasara, increase the HP 5 to MP5 buff. It's now going to be 12 plus 0.5 per level. Increase the HP 5 MP5 debuff. It's now going to be 6 plus 0.5 per level. And then Shiva Tandava, they're going to decrease the cooldown from 100 seconds to 90 seconds. Scotty's also getting a buff here. Winter's Grasp, increased physical power scaling on the initial hit of Snowstorm by 25% to 35%. So Scotty getting a little bit of love here. Nothing too crazy though. Sobek getting some changes across the board here. They're going to decrease cooldowns on Charge Prey, Tail Whip, and Sickening Strike. Charge Prey by 2 seconds, Tail Whip and Sickening Strike by 1 second. Sung Wukong, they worked out his passive now, Undefeated Body. They're going to increase the HP threshold to trigger the buff from 50% to 60%. Tsukiyumi, Silver Moon Caltrops, they're going to increase the slow. It's now going to be 20 to 30% scaling. Uller, wielding axes, increase the axe attack speed in bow stance from 10 to 30%, now 15 to 35%. Increase the physical lifesteal in axe stance from 8 to 20%, now 10 to 30%. Vulcan, Infernal Candles getting a decreased cooldown by 4 seconds, which is a wild change. That cannon's already up a lot as it is. It's going to be up a lot more now. Jing Chen, Hook Slam, increased the duration of the root, which was 1 to 1.4, is now going to be 1 to 2. That's a pretty significant change for Jing Chen here. And the last god change for Zhang Kui, Demon Bag, increase the protections gain per stack from 1 to 1.5. Increase the max protections past him from 40 to 60. Increase the max protections while ult is firing from 80 to 120. Pretty good changes here for Zhang Kui. Overall, I think these are great changes across the board. I'm excited to see all the gods that got buffed, specifically in the Guardian tab. I just want to know who comes to the forefront through these Guardian changes. I think they're probably the most interesting. Does Set become, rampant again through the scene after getting buffed yet again? We'll have to just stay tuned and find out. Is there a god buff that you think wasn't needed? Is there a god nerf you think wasn't needed? Is there a god you really wanted to see buffed that wasn't buffed in 10.6 Season of Souls? let me know. Leave a comment below, and make sure to check out Battlegrounds of the Gods, a Smite podcast, and my podcast, Up Your Experience podcast, whenever you get a chance, wherever you like to listen to your podcast. Take it easy. I hope you guys enjoyed this 3-video format and a little bit, making the videos a little bit shorter to kind of work through rather than one long video. Let me know what you think. Take it easy. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.